Work in private, win in public. Introduction. What if I told you that every public success you admire was built in complete silence? We live in a world obsessed with the spotlight. Social media rewards the loudest voices, the most polished highlights, and the illusion of overnight success. But the truth is, the real work, the hard work happens when no one is watching. This audiobook is about that truth. It's about the early mornings, the late nights, the sacrifices made without applause. It's about showing up every day, not for followers, likes or praise, but for growth, for the craft, for the quiet progress that eventually erupts into visible victory. Work in private, win in public is more than a catchy phrase. It's a philosophy, a mindset, a way of living that prioritizes discipline over dopamine, substance over style, and depth over display. In the chapters ahead, you'll discover the hidden stories behind some of the most iconic successes. Athletes, artists, entrepreneurs, you'll see how they built their empires not with noise, but with focused, unrelenting work behind the scenes. This audiobook is for anyone who's grinding quietly, feeling unseen, wondering if it's worth it. It is, because one day, the world will witness what you've been building, and they'll call it talent, or luck, or genius. But you'll know the truth. They'll see the win, you'll remember the work. Welcome to Work in Private, Win in Public. Let's begin. Chapter 1. The Invisible Grind. They say the lights shine brightest on those who spent the most time in the dark, before the trophy, before the crowd, before the highlight reel. There's silence, just a person, a dream, and the discipline to keep going when no one's watching. This is the invisible grind. Mastery doesn't happen on stage. It happens in the quiet spaces between distractions. In the early hours when the world is still asleep, or the late nights when everyone else has given up. It lives in the moments when you're tempted to quit. But you don't. Because somewhere deep inside, you know this effort, invisible today, will become undeniable tomorrow. Take a moment to think about your favorite athlete, the one who makes it look effortless. Maybe it's their jump shot, their footwork, their precision. What you're seeing is the result of 10,000 hours of invisible grind, hours in the gym, hours correcting mistakes, hours repeating the same movement until it becomes second nature, until it becomes who they are. Michael Jordan, widely regarded as the greatest basketball player of all time, wasn't just built on talent, he was built on lonely hours. After a tough loss, when teammates had already gone home, Jordan would stay back and shoot hundreds of free throws. Not to prove a point, not to post it online, just to get better. Quietly, relentlessly, because he knew that the game is won long before the scoreboard turns on. There's a kind of sacred power in doing the work when no one else knows you're doing it. No praise, no recognition, just a decision to be excellent, whether anyone sees it or not. That's where real confidence comes from, not from applause, but from repetition, from knowing you've earned it in private. Psychologists call this the power of delayed gratification, the ability to sacrifice short-term pleasure for long-term gain, and it's one of the most powerful predictors of success in any field. The invisible grind demands this. It asks you to believe in results you can't yet see, to trust that each tiny action, no matter how small or boring, is stacking up to something extraordinary. But this isn't easy. We live in an age of instant feedback. Post a photo, get likes. Say something clever, get attention. And if we don't get that dopamine hit right away, we start to doubt ourselves. We start to wonder, is this even working? The invisible grind doesn't give you quick answers. It gives you a mirror. It shows you your habits, your patience, your inner grit. And if you stay with it, really stay with it, you'll begin to feel something incredible. Real mastery feels different. It's not flashy, it's quiet, it's waking up and doing the work again and again until what once felt hard now feels natural. And ironically, by the time the world notices you, you won't even need their validation, because the results will speak for themselves. That's the irony of working in private. You don't do it for public recognition, but eventually recognition finds you, not because you sought it out, but because your consistency made it impossible to ignore. Consistency without validation is a rare skill. It's easy to work hard when everyone is cheering you on. But what about when no one notices? What about when progress is slow and the only reward is knowing you didn't give up? That's the grind that most people can't stomach. But that's also why most people don't win. Think of every expert you admire. The artist with the perfect brushstroke, the coder with the cleanest solutions, the speaker with magnetic presence. You didn't see their first 100 tries. You didn't see the rewrites, the broken builds, the awkward silences, but they happened. Oh, they happened. And that's the beauty of the invisible grind. It leaves behind visible results, even if the work that built them remains unseen. So what does this mean for you? It means that every small action you take today, every hour of focused work, every page you write, every rep you push through, matters. Even if no one claps for it, even if no one knows, you're building something real, something lasting. And one day, the world will wonder how you did it so effortlessly. Let them wonder, you'll know the truth. Because while they were watching, you were working. While they were scrolling, you were building. And while they were waiting for permission, you were quietly becoming unstoppable. This is the invisible grind, and this is where your public victory begins. Chapter 2. The myth of overnight success. Success, when viewed from the outside, often feels like magic. One day, someone is unknown. Next, they're everywhere, on TV, on your feed, on the shelves of bookstores, or on a stage accepting awards. It seems instant, effortless, like the universe just handed them a spotlight and said, "It's your turn." But that's the illusion. The truth: there's no such thing as overnight success. What you see in the public eye is the result, not the process. The final chapter, not the entire book. Media highlights the moments of victory, the big deals, the sudden fame, the viral breakout. But rarely do we get to see the years of struggle that built up to that one big break. This creates a dangerous narrative that success should be fast, and if it's not, you're doing something wrong. That couldn't be further from reality. Let's take J.K. Rowling as a powerful example. Most people know her as the author of the Harry Potter series, a global literary phenomenon, translated into dozens of languages, with films, merchandise, theme parks. But rewind the story, and you'll find something very different. Before Harry Potter became a household name, Rowling was a single mother living on welfare, scribbling down ideas in cafes while her baby slept beside her. She sent her manuscript to 12 publishers. 12, and every single one rejected it. That's not the part of the story that gets celebrated. What we remember is the outcome: best-selling books, record-breaking movies, wealth, fame, cultural impact. But without those years in obscurity, without those rejections, there would be no story to tell. Rowling's overnight success was years in the making. This is known as the iceberg illusion. What people see is just the tip, the visible success. But underneath the surface is everything they don't see: the sacrifices, the doubts, the failures, the learning, the slow, steady grind. And yet, because most of what we consume online is curated and polished, we forget that everyone's iceberg has a deep, hidden foundation. Social media, especially, has intensified this distortion. We scroll through highlight reels of people's wins, promotions, perfect bodies, booked-out businesses, and it's easy to feel like we're falling behind. We compare our behind the scenes with someone else's big reveal, not realizing that their breakthrough was likely the result of years of invisible effort. It's like walking into a theater during the final scene of a movie and thinking you understand the whole plot. Managing expectations in this kind of environment is hard. We're conditioned to crave fast results. We want the shortcut, the hack, the one thing that guarantees success. But true mastery and true success require patience, not passive waiting, but active building, brick by brick, day by day, with no guarantees and no shortcuts. And that's the part that makes success meaningful. If it were instant, it wouldn't be valuable. What gives victory its weight is the journey that came before it, the obstacles that shaped you, the time it took to grow into someone capable of holding that success when it arrived. This means reframing how we measure progress. Instead of asking, "Why haven't I made it yet?" ask, "What am I building right now that no one sees?" Instead of being discouraged by slow growth, take pride in the roots you're laying. Trees don't bloom overnight. They take time to root, to strengthen, to survive the seasons. Your journey is no different. One of the greatest advantages you have in your early stages, when you're still unseen, is the freedom to experiment, to fail quietly, to improve without pressure. Public success can bring scrutiny, but when you're still in the shadows, you have the space to grow in your own way, at your own pace. Don't rush that. That time is a gift, because when your moment comes, and it will, you'll be ready. You won't crumble under the weight of attention. You won't be exposed by success. You'll be revealed by it. All that private work will speak for itself. You won't have to shout. Your results will whisper loud enough. Here's the truth. The media won't tell you. The people who seem to come out of nowhere have usually been grinding for years. You just didn't see them. And that's okay. Their success doesn't invalidate your slow progress. It validates it. You're not late. You're not behind. You're just underground. Like a seed, preparing to sprout. And one day, when your work blooms into something undeniable, people will call it sudden. They'll say you were lucky, that you blew up overnight. Let them. You'll know how long it really took. Because while they were counting moments, you were mastering momentum. While they were waiting for signs, you were creating your own. And while they believed in magic, you believed in work. This is the myth of overnight success, deconstructed. And now that you know the truth, you can stop chasing quick wins and start building something real. Chapter 3. Mastering the Craft in Silence. There's a rare kind of power that comes from working in solitude. No distractions, no noise, no expectations, just you and your craft. That's where mastery is born, not in the excitement of big crowds, but in the quiet corners of daily repetition. Solitude is not isolation. It's not about shutting the world out forever. It's about creating a space where you can focus with intensity, where skill can be refined without judgment. And that space, those silent hours of deliberate work, is what separates the good from the great. Ask anyone who's achieved real excellence, and they'll tell you the same thing. Greatness doesn't come from doing more. It comes from doing what matters, repeatedly, purposefully, and without shortcuts. Kobe Bryant understood this better than most. While his peers were sleeping, Kobe was already training. At 4 a.m., he'd be in the gym, working on the basics. Not flashy moves or viral dunks, the basics. Footwork, shooting form, defensive angles, things most players overlooked because they were too simple. But Kobe knew fundamentals win games, and fundamentals are forged through repetition, not hype. That kind of discipline, day after day, year after year, isn't accidental. It's the product of a mindset that prioritizes mastery over momentary satisfaction. To impress anyone, he did it because he wanted to master every inch of his game, because when the spotlight came on, he wanted to trust that the work was already done. There's a difference between being busy and getting better. It's easy to fall into the trap of busy work, going through the motions, checking off tasks, staying productive. But progress doesn't come from activity. It comes from deliberate practice. That means choosing the hard things, the boring things, the things you're bad at, the things that force you to grow. Deliberate practice requires feedback. It demands focus. It's not about feeling good. It's about getting better. And often that kind of work doesn't look exciting from the outside. In fact, it can feel repetitive, tedious, even invisible. But that's exactly the point. When you practice with intention, you're building something deeper than knowledge. You're building muscle memory, not just physically, but mentally. Every repetition wires your brain to respond automatically, under pressure. Every tiny improvement compounds. Over time, this becomes the foundation of mastery, not conscious thought, but instinct. Think about it like this. Anyone can perform well once, but mastery means performing well consistently, even under stress. That's what muscle memory is for. It turns skill into reflex. And reflex is only built in solitude, through focused, honest practice. This is where most people get stuck. They want to feel progress immediately. They want their efforts to be seen and rewarded. But true growth often happens in silence, without praise. You might spend weeks practicing something and see no immediate result. But underneath the surface, something is changing. Your focus, your discipline, your response time, your clarity. Mastery isn't about dramatic leaps. It's about small, almost unnoticeable gains, repeated over time. 1 inch of improvement every day becomes a mile before you know it. But only if you're consistent, only if you're willing to stay in the process long enough to see it through. Silence helps sharpen this process. When you remove the noise of opinions, comparison, and distractions, you begin to see yourself clearly. You learn your patterns, your weaknesses, your tendencies, and more importantly, you begin to take full ownership of your growth. You're no longer performing, you're becoming. And here's the beauty of it. The world doesn't need to see your progress right away. In fact, it's better that they don't. Because the less you focus on being seen, the more you can focus on getting better. And when you finally are seen, you'll be undeniable. You won't need to prove yourself. Your skill will speak for you. Kobe once said, "Rest at the end, not in the middle." That mindset of finishing strong, of working relentlessly in silence, is what defines every master of their craft. They don't rush. They don't crave validation. They trust the process. So what does this mean for you? It means choosing practice over performance, choosing growth over glory, choosing the quiet road, even when it feels unrewarded. It means showing up when it's hard, when it's boring, when no one is cheering, because you know that the work you do in silence will echo in public. Mastering your craft in silence isn't glamorous, but it's real. It's where the foundation is built. And once that foundation is solid, everything else becomes possible. So keep going. Wake up early. Stay a little later. Rehearse the basics. Study your mistakes. Commit to the kind of practice that no one sees, but everyone eventually notices. Because when the time comes, and the lights go on, and the world is watching, you won't flinch. You'll perform like it's second nature, because to you it will be. This is the silent path to mastery. This is how the invisible becomes unforgettable. Chapter 4. Dealing with doubt and disbelief. Every journey worth taking comes with doubters. People who don't see your vision. People who laugh, question, dismiss, or outright try to pull you off course. They'll say it can't be done, that you're aiming too high, that you're wasting your time. But if you listen too closely to the noise, you'll never hear your own voice. And in the end, that's the only one that matters. Criticism, especially in the early stages, can be brutal, not just because it challenges your ideas, but because it can make you question yourself. You start to wonder, what if they're right? What if I'm just fooling myself? That kind of doubt doesn't need a crowd to grow. It only needs your attention. That's why internal motivation is everything. The most successful people in the world didn't get where they are because everyone believed in them. In fact, many of them got there in spite of disbelief. What kept them going wasn't external validation. It was an inner fire, a conviction that their work mattered, even if no one else saw it yet. Look at Elon Musk. Today he's considered one of the most visionary entrepreneurs of our time. But rewind a bit, and you'll find a very different story. When he started SpaceX, the idea of a private company building rockets was laughed at. People in the aerospace industry called it impossible, a joke. After SpaceX's third failed launch, many in the media labeled him a failure. But Musk didn't fold. He didn't retreat. He doubled down. He believed in the mission more than the moment. He focused not on the ridicule, but on the reasons behind the work. And eventually the fourth launch succeeded, changing history. The same critics who mocked him were suddenly quiet. Why? Because success speaks louder than speculation. Being underestimated is one of the greatest gifts you can receive if you know how to use it. When people doubt you, they expect less from you. That gives you freedom, space, room to build without pressure. While others are distracted by attention, you get to refine your craft in peace. And then when the time comes to reveal what you've built, it hits harder, because no one saw it coming. Doubt, if you're not careful, can become a mirror. You begin to reflect the opinions of others instead of the truth of your potential. To avoid this, you need more than motivation. You need mental discipline. You need a stoic mindset. Stoicism doesn't mean being emotionless. It means being anchored. It's the art of staying steady while the world sways. Stoic thinkers like Marcus Aurelius believed that we can't control what others say or do, but we can control our response. And our response is everything. When critics speak, the Stoic listens, but doesn't absorb. They examine the feedback, take what's useful, and leave the rest. They don't waste energy on proving themselves. They prove it through progress. You don't need to argue with critics. You don't need to defend your dream to every skeptic. That's a distraction. Let your results do the talking. Until then, keep building. Quietly, powerfully, with your eyes on the long game. Remember, every major breakthrough looked ridiculous at first. Every revolutionary idea started as someone's daydream. Every now great success story once had a chorus of voices saying, "That'll never work." So why should yours be any different? When you feel the weight of doubt pressing down on you, yours or someone else's, come back to your why. Remind yourself why you started. Reconnect with your reason. Because your reasons, when they're real and deeply rooted, will always be stronger than someone else's opinion. And if you're doubting yourself, good. That means you care. That means you're thinking. Just don't let doubt make decisions for you. Let it sharpen you, not stop you. There's strength in staying the course, even when no one claps. There's power in waking up and doing the work anyway. And the people who eventually win publicly are often the same people who once had to silently convince themselves to keep going, every single day. Your job isn't to be loud, it's to be consistent. Your job isn't to win arguments, it's to win the war. Your job isn't to silence your critics, it's to outlast them. Because once the results are real, the noise fades. Once the vision is visible, the disbelief turns to praise. And once you've walked through doubt without losing your direction, you'll be stronger than any critic ever was loud. This is how you deal with doubt and disbelief. You don't fight it, you rise above it. You don't prove them wrong, you prove yourself right. And that's the win that truly matters. Chapter 5. The Power of Obscurity. We live in a world obsessed with being seen. The spotlight is addictive. Everyone's trying to go viral, to build followers, to get noticed. But here's a truth that few talk about. There is a deep, quiet power in being unknown. Obscurity isn't a curse. It's a gift. Before fame, before recognition, before pressure, there's a window of time, often unnoticed, where you are free to make mistakes. Free to experiment, free to try, fail, learn, and repeat. That's obscurity. And it may just be the most important phase of your journey. When no one's watching, you can move without fear. You're not performing. You're practicing. You're not defending your work to critics. You're shaping it with curiosity. This is the space where skills are sharpened, voices are found, and the foundation is laid. It's not glamorous, but it's where the real work gets done. Take Ed Sheeran, for example. Today he sells out stadiums, but not long ago, he was busking on the streets with nothing but a guitar and a backpack. No record deal, no global tours, just talent, hunger, and a willingness to show up every day. He played in subway stations, on sidewalks, in tiny clubs, anywhere he could. There were no expectations, no crowd demanding perfection. And that's exactly what made it powerful. Ed used that time to experiment with melodies, lyrics, and style. He wasn't polished yet, but he was passionate. He wasn't performing for the world. He was discovering who he was as an artist. That kind of discovery only happens in obscurity. When you're unknown, your mistakes don't go viral. You can fall on your face and still have the chance to get back up in private. That's a blessing, because once you're in the public eye, the stakes are higher, the room for error is smaller, the judgment is louder. Use this time wisely. Obscurity gives you permission to be bad, so you can eventually be great. You don't have to impress anyone. You don't have to pretend you've got it all figured out. You can build without pressure. Think of it like training in a private gym before entering the arena. You get to test your ideas, explore your voice, refine your rhythm. You can try 10 different things and scrap 9 of them, without consequence. That's how real growth happens, through freedom, not fear. And when expectations are low, you can take risks. You're not boxed in by brand or reputation. You can reinvent yourself. You can pivot. You can discover a path that's truly yours, instead of following one laid out by someone else. Too many people rush to be seen. They want attention before they're ready for it. But exposure without experience can crush you. If the spotlight finds you too soon, it will reveal the cracks in your foundation. But if you've used your time in obscurity to build strong roots, you'll be ready when the light finally hits. The irony is, once you're successful, you'll look back and miss the days when no one knew your name. The freedom, the simplicity, the quiet joy of creating just for the sake of it, that's something you can never get back once fame arrives. So don't resent obscurity. Embrace it. Use it. Milk every ounce of potential from it. Wake up early to write songs no one may hear yet. Stay late to rehearse in an empty room. Build your website, your product, your voice, your art, without anyone watching. It's not wasted time, it's sacred time. And here's something else to consider. The people who rise the fastest often fall the hardest. They didn't have time to anchor themselves. They blew up before they were ready. But the ones who build slowly, who respect the process, who grow in the shadows, they're still standing long after the hype fades. That's what obscurity does. It teaches patience. It cultivates grit. It forces you to fall in love with the work, not the rewards. Because when you eventually win in public, it won't feel like luck. It'll feel like the natural result of what you've been doing all along. It's okay to be underestimated. It's okay to be overlooked. In fact, it's often the perfect setup. Because by the time people realize what you've become, it's already too late to stop you. Remember, your current invisibility is not a reflection of your potential. It's a season, a necessary, powerful chapter of your story. Don't rush through it. Don't wish it away. Use it. Every master was once a beginner. Every legend started as an unknown. Every overnight success was once just someone doing quiet work in the dark, day after day, with no audience. So take heart. You are not behind. You are not unseen. You are in the best position you'll ever be in, to grow, to build, to prepare. And when the moment comes, when your work is ready, and the world takes notice, you'll walk into the spotlight, not as a stranger to your craft, but as someone who's earned it. That's the power of obscurity. It's not a setback. It's a stage no one else can see yet. Chapter 6. Systems over goals. People love to talk about goals. Set big goals. Dream big. Write your goals down and visualize them. It's everywhere. But there's a silent truth most high performers understand. Goals are not what make people successful. Systems are. A goal is a destination. A system is the engine that gets you there, slowly, surely, reliably. And if you want to win in public, it's the systems you build in private that will carry you across the finish line. Let's start with a simple question. What happens after you reach a goal? You celebrate, and then what? If you don't have a system in place, you drift. That's why so many people yo-yo with progress. They set a goal, push hard, achieve it, and then backslide. Because the structure wasn't there to maintain it. But when you focus on systems, progress becomes a habit. Excellence becomes automatic. James Clear, author of Atomic Habits, tells the story of how he rebuilt his life through systems after a devastating injury in high school. A baseball accident left him with a severe brain injury that could have derailed everything. But instead of giving up, he took a systematic approach to recovery and growth. He didn't say, "I want to become successful." He asked, "What small improvements can I make every day that compound over time?" His life changed not from grand gestures, but from micro actions done consistently. Things like journaling daily, setting routines, optimizing environments, and tracking habits. Over time, those habits stacked into momentum, and that momentum became transformation. That's the power of systems. A goal might be to write a book. The system is writing 500 words a day. A goal might be to run a marathon. The system is running 4 times a week. A goal might be to grow your business. The system is calling 5 new prospects every day, rain or shine. Systems are repeatable. They're manageable, they're within your control, and most importantly, they remove emotion from the equation. You don't have to feel motivated, you just follow the process. And here's the kicker. Systems work best when built in private. You don't need applause for your 5 a.m. routine. You don't need a trophy for your daily push-ups. The real victories are invisible, tucked away in calendars, notebooks, and spreadsheets. Quiet, unglamorous repetitions that compound over time until they explode into visible success. That's how you make excellence automatic. The beauty of atomic habits, as James Clear calls them, is that they are small enough to do consistently, but powerful enough to change your identity. When you read 10 pages every day, you become a reader. When you practice guitar for 15 minutes daily, you become a musician. It's not the size of the habit, it's the consistency that rewires your brain. Your habits tell a story about who you believe you are. The more you act in alignment with that identity, the more confident and competent you become. This is what separates performers from pretenders. It's not talent, it's not intensity, it's consistency. So how do you build systems that stick? First, focus on the environment. If you want to eat healthier, don't just rely on willpower. Stock your fridge with healthy options. If you want to write every morning, set your workspace up the night before. Design your surroundings to make the right action the easy one. Second, tie your habits to triggers. After brushing your teeth, you meditate. After pouring your coffee, you journal. This creates a rhythm, a mental link between one behavior and the next. Third, start small. So small it's almost laughable. Want to get into shape? Start with 5 push-ups. Want to build a reading habit? Just read 1 paragraph. Because once you start, momentum takes over. And momentum, more than motivation, is what drives lasting change. Fourth, track your habits. Not publicly, privately. Create a simple system, a notebook, an app, a calendar, where you check off your progress each day. The act of tracking gives your brain a visual cue that the habit matters. It builds accountability without needing applause. One of the most underrated feelings in the world is looking at a habit tracker filled with tiny check marks. Each mark a promise kept. Each day a silent victory. No one sees it, but you do, and over time those marks become proof of your discipline. Now, here's the truth. Building systems is not sexy. It's not dramatic. It's not the stuff of highlight reels, but it's real. It works. Because systems don't care how you feel. They don't waver under pressure. They're dependable, repeatable, and immune to chaos. And in a noisy world that celebrates sudden success, systems are your quiet rebellion. You don't need to shout your goals from the rooftops. You don't need to convince anyone of your potential. You just need to show up for your system, do the work, track the progress, adjust as needed, and let time do the rest. One day someone will ask how you made it happen, how you stayed consistent, how you delivered under pressure, and you'll smile because the answer is boring. You'll say, I built a system, I followed it, and I trusted it. Because systems scale. When life gets busy, your system keeps you on track. When doubt creeps in, your system keeps you anchored. When distractions rise, your system brings you back to what matters. Every public win starts with a private system. Behind every viral video, there's a workflow. Behind every bestseller, a writing routine. Behind every 6-figure launch, a daily grind of systems working like gears, quiet, invisible, consistent. If you want to change your life, stop asking, what's my goal? Start asking, what's my system? Because you don't rise to the level of your goals. You fall to the level of your systems. And when your systems are strong enough, your results become inevitable. Let the others chase applause. You build a machine, you build a rhythm, you build a private structure so solid, it eventually creates public success on autopilot. That's the secret. That's the work. That's the win. Chapter 7. Building a fortress of focus. In today's hyper-connected world, focus is a rare superpower. Notifications buzz, screens glow, feeds refresh endlessly. And in the middle of that noise, the truly elite, the high performers, the game changers, do something different. They build a fortress of focus. Not just for an hour here or there, but as a way of life, a commitment to deep work, that rare, undistracted, concentrated effort that moves the needle. Because no one becomes world-class by checking their phone every 5 minutes. You can't chase mastery while you're chasing notifications. Distraction is easy. Focus is earned. The deeper you want to go into your craft, the more protective you must be of your attention. Every world-class performance is built on thousands of hours of undivided effort. Not effort scattered between tabs, not effort splintered by texts, but pure, singular, focused energy. Think of it this way: your attention is currency. Where you spend it determines what you build. Spend it on noise, and you build anxiety. Spend it on gossip, and you build drama. But spend it on creation, on learning, on your craft, and you build greatness. Bill Gates knew this long before it became a buzzword. For years, he practiced something called Think Week. Twice a year, he'd retreat to a secluded cabin with no internet, no meetings, no interruptions, just a stack of books, papers, and notebooks. He'd read, think, write, and strategize. Alone, deep in the wilderness of thought. Some of Microsoft's boldest innovations were born in those quiet moments of focus. Now, you don't need a cabin in the woods to protect your focus, but you do need a system. You need to treat your attention like a sacred resource and guard it accordingly. The first step is to eliminate distractions at the source. That might mean turning off notifications, putting your phone in another room, blocking websites that pull you into rabbit holes. It's not about being anti-technology, it's about being pro-attention. Every time you switch tasks, your brain pays a price. Scientists call it attention residue, the mental lag you experience after toggling between tasks. It takes minutes, sometimes up to 20, to fully re-enter a state of deep focus after a distraction. If you're switching constantly, you're never fully in it. This is where the myth of multitasking gets exposed. You're not doing multiple things at once. You're rapidly switching between tasks, burning cognitive energy with every jump. What feels like productivity is often just motion, busy, but not deep. Real work, meaningful, high-impact work, demands more. It demands immersion. You can't write a compelling chapter while answering texts. You can't design a brilliant product while flipping between Slack and Twitter, and you can't master your field while splitting your attention into fragments. So what's the solution? Create rituals and sacred time. Build a routine that signals to your brain. It could be lighting a candle, putting on noise-canceling headphones, opening a blank notebook, playing a specific instrumental playlist. The trigger doesn't matter, the intention does. Then, block out your time like it's non-negotiable. This is your fortress. No meetings, no messages, just you, your mind, and the work that matters most. Even just 90 minutes of deep work a day can transform your output. And if you're working in a noisy environment, mentally or physically, start small. Try 25-minute Pomodoro sessions, then gradually extend your focus window as your concentration muscle strengthens. Because yes, focus is a muscle, and like any muscle, it grows through repetition. Make it visual. Use a wall calendar. Track how many days you've protected your deep work time. Those chains of consistency build self-respect. You begin to trust yourself to stay focused. And over time, that trust becomes momentum. Focus doesn't mean isolation forever. It means intentional separation from noise, so that when you re-engage with the world, you come back stronger, sharper, more capable. You're not missing out. You're leveling up. Here's a secret. Most of your competitors are distracted. They're busy refreshing, scrolling, reacting. That's your advantage. If you can focus deeply for even an hour more than them each day, the gap will widen rapidly. Not because you're smarter, but because you're more concentrated. It's the compounding effect of focus. One deep hour today leads to better insights tomorrow. Better insights lead to better execution. Better execution leads to better results. And eventually, those results speak for themselves, loudly, publicly. But they all start in the quiet, in the moments no one sees, when it's just you and the work. That's where separation happens. That's where mastery is born. Focus is freedom. Freedom from comparison. Freedom from mental clutter. Freedom to choose what matters and go all in. So build your fortress. Not once. Daily. Brick by brick. Ritual by ritual. Not to escape the world, but to shape it. Not to be unreachable, but to be undistracted. You'll be amazed what happens when your mind has space to go deep. You'll be shocked how much you can create when you stop consuming, and you'll be proud, deeply proud, of the work you produce when your attention is all in. This is how you win in public, by going deep in private, by protecting your focus like your future depends on it, because it does, by building a fortress around your time, your energy, your attention, because the deeper you go now, the higher you'll rise later. Chapter 8. Private failures, public triumphs. Failure is a word that stings, especially when it happens behind closed doors, when no one's watching, when no one applauds your effort, and the result is silence, rejection, or flat-out defeat. But here's the truth. Every public triumph has private failures beneath it. They are the hidden foundation, the quiet rehearsals, the botched attempts, the unanswered emails, the drafts that didn't work, the nights that ended in frustration. Failure, when kept private, becomes your most honest teacher. It strips away ego and asks, what are you really made of? Consider Oprah Winfrey, now one of the most influential media figures in the world. Most people know her as the billionaire host, producer, and mogul, but few remember that early in her career, she was fired from her first news job in Baltimore. The reason? They told her she was too emotional and unfit for TV. It wasn't just a rejection. It was a message that she didn't belong, but she didn't quit. She didn't campaign for sympathy. She went inward. She learned, adapted, and refined her presence. She shifted from trying to fit someone else's mold to building her own. That early failure didn't define her. It refined her. That's what private failure does. It tests your resilience in ways applause never could. Because in failure, there's no validation. There's no crowd cheering you on. It's just you, facing the lesson. And yet, that's where the transformation happens. We're conditioned to hide our failures, to present the polished version. But anyone who's truly great has a trail of invisible setbacks behind them, setbacks that sharpened their edge and deepened their drive. Think about it. We don't get stronger by avoiding resistance. Muscles grow from stress and recovery. Character works the same way. You fall, you learn, you rebuild, and next time you're stronger, not just physically, but mentally. Failure in private is like going to the gym for your soul. It doesn't feel good in the moment, but it builds the strength you need to win publicly, when it counts. The key is to reframe loss as iteration. Most people see failure as the end of the road. High performers see it as a fork in the road, an opportunity to adjust and continue. The greats don't ask, why did this happen to me? They ask, what can I learn from this? That mindset changes everything. Because now failure isn't personal, it's procedural. It's part of the process. You stop tying your identity to outcomes and start tying it to your effort, your curiosity, and your adaptability. It's important to learn in the shadows. When no one's watching, you're free to experiment. Free to fall flat, free to look foolish. That's where the breakthroughs are born. In the spotlight, the stakes are higher. But in the shadows, you have room to tinker. To ask bold questions, to try things that might not work. That's where innovation lives. Private failure is safer than public humiliation, but it's still painful. And that's okay, because the pain is what makes the lesson stick. The pain reminds you this mattered, that you were trying something meaningful. Every time you fail, you gain something valuable. if you're willing to extract the lesson, but that requires humility. It requires curiosity, and it requires a willingness to sit with discomfort instead of running from it. There's a Japanese proverb, fall down 7 times, stand up 8. But what it doesn't say is that most of those falls are unseen, quiet, internal, and that's where the real strength is built. Public wins may earn the spotlight, but they're powered by private grit. Let your failures be compost for your future. Let them break down your ego and nourish your growth. Let them teach you what books can't, how to endure, how to adjust, how to come back smarter and stronger. It's tempting to pretend you didn't fail, to cover it up, to skip the reflection and move on. But when you pause and process, you turn failure into fuel. Here's the mindset shift. Failure is not the opposite of success. It's part of it. Success isn't a straight line, it's a spiral of trying, failing, learning, and repeating. The winners aren't the ones who never fall. They're the ones who fall forward, who fail with eyes open, ready to take notes and keep climbing. Remember, no one sees the missed shots that taught you how to aim. No one sees the sleepless nights where you questioned everything. No one sees the early drafts, the tears, the rewrites, the doubts. But those are the moments that define you, and when the success finally comes, when the launch hits, when the offer is accepted, when the world claps, you'll know something deeper than victory. You'll know you earned it, because behind that applause are the failures you faced in private, the rejections you turned into redirection, the losses you used as leverage. Let your setbacks shape you, not shrink you. Let your failures be fingerprints of your journey, not stains on your record. And when your time comes, when the spotlight hits, you'll stand tall, not in spite of your failures, but because of them. Chapter 9. The Moment of Revelation. There's a silence that lingers just before everything changes. A pause, a breath. The final moment before the curtain lifts, before the world sees what you've been building in the shadows. That's the moment of revelation. It's when the private grind becomes public gold. Every artist, entrepreneur, athlete, and visionary who works in private dreams of that moment, not for the applause alone, but for the deep validation that the hours, the effort, the sacrifices were not in vain. But make no mistake, that moment is more than just a debut. It's the culmination of restraint, of patience, of discipline. It's what happens when you choose to create before you broadcast, when you build silently, without the world watching, and then drop your work like a thunderclap. Take Beyoncé, for example. In 2013, she released a full visual album, 14 songs, 17 videos, without a single whisper of promotion. No press tour, no leaks, no ads, just a sudden release on iTunes. The world woke up stunned. She didn't announce her greatness. She revealed it. And that's what made the impact seismic. It wasn't just the music, it was the mastery of the moment. That's the power of quiet preparation. When the work is undeniable, it doesn't need hype. It speaks for itself. But what makes this moment so powerful is the tension that comes before it. For months, maybe years, you've been preparing, refining, getting it just right. And all that time, the world doesn't see your effort. You start to wonder, will it land? Will they get it? Will they see what I've poured into this? There's risk in the reveal. That's what makes it thrilling and terrifying. It's stepping into the spotlight after living in the shadows. It's the silence breaking. It's you saying, here, this is who I am. This is what I've made. But timing matters. Revealed too early, and your work isn't ready. Revealed too late, and the moment passes. The skill lies in sensing when to share. It's not about perfection, but readiness. A deep internal knowing that you've done the work, that this is no longer just a dream, it's a reality worth showing. The moment of revelation is delicate, because in that instant, humility and confidence must coexist. You have to be proud enough to stand behind your creation, but grounded enough not to let success bloat your ego. Because public recognition is a powerful drug. Applause can become addictive, and if you're not careful, it can replace the joy of the craft itself. That's why the greats stay humble. They understand that the win is just a milestone, not a finish line, that there's more to do, more to learn, more to create. They don't confuse the moment for the mission, so when the spotlight hits, own the moment, but don't lose yourself in it. There's a difference between confidence and arrogance. Confidence says, I've done the work, and I'm proud of it. Arrogance says, I deserve this because I'm better than others. The first is rooted in reality. The second is rooted in insecurity. When you've worked in private, you don't need to puff your chest in public. The work speaks. The mastery shows, and when people ask, where did this come from? You can smile knowing exactly how many unseen hours brought you here. Let the world be surprised. Let them call it overnight. Let them marvel at the timing, because you know the truth. You know the long nights, the quiet battles, the internal doubts you had to overcome to get here. That's why the moment of revelation is so personal. It's not just a launch or a performance. It's a quiet vindication, a silent yes to every time you kept going when no one was watching. But here's the most powerful part. When the work finally gets seen, it inspires others to go underground, to build in silence, to trust the process. Your reveal becomes their reminder that it's okay to take time, that greatness doesn't need to shout, it just needs to be real. And that's how the cycle continues. Those who reveal with integrity spark a deeper movement. They remind the world that substance still matters, that not everything has to be marketed before it's made, that there's power in patience and beauty in surprise. So when your moment comes, because it will, remember this: you earned it. Not in the spotlight, but in the solitude. Not with praise, but with persistence. Not through noise, but through nuance. Take a breath. Step into it fully. Let your work shine, and then get back to the lab. Because real artists, real builders, real leaders, they don't live for the reveal, they live for the craft. Let the applause echo behind you, but don't let it distract you from your next masterpiece. The moment of revelation is just one peak on a longer mountain range. Celebrate it, then keep climbing. Chapter 10. Sustaining greatness quietly. Greatness is not a moment. It's not a headline, a trophy, or a viral post. Greatness is a habit, a decision you make every day to live by a higher standard, even when no one's watching. Especially when no one's watching. The real challenge isn't achieving success, it's sustaining it, quietly. When the spotlight finds you, it tempts you. It tempts you to perform for the applause rather than continue building in the shadows, to become a brand instead of staying a builder. But those who last, those whose greatness echoes beyond a season or a trend, are the ones who stay rooted in the process, not the praise. Fame is a trap disguised as a reward. It promises validation, but often steals peace. It offers recognition, but demands performance. And if you start living for it, you lose touch with the very thing that made you great. Your work in private. Take Keanu Reeves, for example. One of Hollywood's most recognizable faces, beloved for his iconic roles, from The Matrix to John Wick. Yet despite his fame, he lives like a man untouched by ego. He takes the subway, donates millions quietly, grieves privately, helps crew members behind the scenes. There are no cameras in his kindness, because it's real. Keanu reminds us that you don't have to broadcast your goodness for it to exist, that you can be exceptional without being loud, that the deepest impact is often made in silence. This is the philosophy of quiet greatness. It's about returning to the craft after the clap. It's about asking yourself, even after a public win, what's next to learn? What's next to build? How do I grow without the noise? The truth is, external success doesn't make the inner work stop, it makes it more essential. Because after the win, there's a subtle pressure to protect the image instead of developing the individual. That's where many fall off. They stop sharpening the blade because it already drew blood once. But those who are truly great know that the spotlight is temporary and fragile. The work, that's eternal, so they return to it, quietly, gratefully. They know success is not a resting place, it's a checkpoint. A moment to pause, reflect, and then dig deeper. That's why returning to the process is an act of discipline. It's saying, I'm not done, not because you're unsatisfied, but because you're committed to something bigger than praise. You're committed to mastery. And here's the twist. The more you return to the process, the more people begin to admire, not just what you do, but how you do it. Your discipline becomes your legacy. Your humility becomes your message. You start to inspire others, not with speeches or slogans, but with your life. There's no need to overshare. You don't have to document every move, every struggle, every win. Let some things stay sacred. Let some growth happen in silence. The right people will feel it, even if they never see it. In a world that rewards loudness, restraint becomes a quiet superpower. When you choose to not make every moment public, you preserve your peace. You guard your integrity. You stay grounded. Because if you live by applause, you'll die by criticism. Quiet greatness is about stability. It's about building a life that's not shaken by opinion. A practice that's not disrupted by distraction. A character that doesn't shift with the spotlight. It's about knowing who you are before the crowd tells you, and staying true to that long after the crowd forgets you. The beauty of this path is that it scales with time. You don't need to go viral to make an impact. You just need to be consistent. Show up, do the work, improve, repeat. Let your legacy be written in small daily acts, not grand performances. And when others see you living this way, quietly excellent, they'll feel something rare, something real. In a culture of noise, your silence becomes magnetic. You inspire by example, without preaching, without posing, just by living the message. So what does it mean to sustain greatness quietly? It means choosing depth over attention, choosing growth over glory, choosing truth over trend, choosing legacy over likes. It means staying humble, even when you could be boastful. It means keeping some wins to yourself, not out of secrecy, but out of sacredness. It means doing the next right thing, even when no one's clapping. It means understanding that your real audience isn't the world, it's your future self. Will they thank you for staying grounded, for staying focused, for staying kind? That's who you work for now, and maybe like Keanu, you'll change the world, not with a megaphone, but with a quiet consistency that speaks louder than fame ever could. So here we are, at the end of this journey, but in truth, you're just beginning your own. If there's one message this audiobook has tried to deliver, it's this: the world doesn't need to see everything you do to validate who you are. Mastery doesn't happen in the spotlight. It happens in silence, in solitude, and in the repetition that no one applauds. The most powerful transformations take place where no one is looking. It's in the early mornings, the late nights, the empty gyms, and the quiet study rooms. It's when you show up, not because someone is watching, but because you are. Working in private is not about hiding. It's about building. It's about becoming so skilled, so focused, and so grounded that when the moment comes, you don't have to announce your greatness. It reveals itself. Public wins are simply the surface of deep private work, and yes, there will be doubt. There will be quiet failures. There will be times when you wonder if the effort is worth it, but if you stay consistent, stay focused, and stay true to your craft, those moments will pass. And what will remain is the strength, the skill, and the mindset of someone who didn't wait for permission to become great. Fame, applause, and recognition may come, or they may not. But if you build something real, something honest, you'll always have something that lasts longer than attention, impact. As you return to your life, remember this. Let your work speak before your words do. Let your character shine brighter than your image. And let your journey be defined not by how many are watching, but by how deeply you're growing. You don't need the world's eyes on you to start. You just need your own belief. So go, build in silence, train in solitude, keep your goals sacred, let the world wonder how you did it. And when the time is right, when the foundation is solid, and the craft is sharp, you'll step out, and the world will see what you already knew. You were never waiting for attention. You were preparing for impact. Work in private, win in public. That's your edge. That's your path. Now walk it, with purpose, with patience, and with pride.